Hey guys, tonight we're going somewhere cold. Not cold like winter, cold like a grave that's been forgotten. You're lying face down in mud, your cheek pressed against something smooth, round, and very, very wrong. It's a human molar, still in the jaw. The jaw is still attached to the head. The head, not attached to much at all. Welcome to Tollense Valley, circa 1250 BCE. Population decreasing fast. But first, before you get too cozy, maybe hit that like button and subscribe if you're into violent mysteries buried in bogs and whispered by bones. Now, dim the lights, ease back into the dark, and let's slide into tonight's journey together. You wake up to the smell of iron and rotting wet things. The mud is thick, soaked not just with water, but with memory. You lift your face. Something cracks under your hand. You look down. It's a splintered piece of a jawbone, snapped at the hinge. Around you, silence. Not peaceful silence, hollow silence, like the air itself is waiting for an explanation. You push yourself upright. Your arms shake. Everything hurts. You're wrapped in animal skins tied with sinew, caked in blood that isn't all yours. The river sloshes nearby, but it doesn't sound like water should. It sounds thick. You stand, stumble, then stop, because the thing you tripped on isn't a root. It's a rib cage. Crushed, like it was hugged too tightly by a god in a bad mood. Ahead of you lies chaos, broken weapons, shattered helmets, and bodies, so many bodies, sprawled in ways that scream confusion. This wasn't a strategy, this was a slaughter. And you don't even know which side you were on. You turn in place, dizzy. The land is flat, with a snaking river cutting through its center like a scar. The banks are slick with footprints, thousands of them, some fresh, others washed into spirals by rain. You start walking, not because you want to, but because stopping feels like dying. Again. Each step brings something new. A snapped spear carved from ashwood. A belt buckle shaped like a crescent moon. A child's wooden toy with one eye missing. That last one does something strange to your stomach. You keep moving. You pass a pile of limbs. Not bodies, limbs, legs, arms, mixed like soup ingredients. The skin's colorless. Some still wear bracelets. You count. There are too many for a single man. You stop counting. And then you hear it. A hum. Not from your ears, from underneath, like the soil is holding its breath. Your legs buckle. You drop to your knees beside a partially buried skull. There's a hole punched clean through its temple. You brush away dirt. A bronze arrowhead glints from inside. You pull it out, hold it up. It's sharp, ornate, etched with 3 tiny dots in a triangle. Not from your tribe, not from anywhere near here. Historians will later find hundreds of skeletons here, some local, most not. The isotopes in their bones will reveal something astonishing. These men came from hundreds of kilometers apart. Scandinavia, Central Europe, maybe farther. This wasn't a skirmish. This was international. But right now, you're just trying not to throw up. You walk to the river, kneel, splash water onto your face. The current is slow, sluggish, clotted with reeds and limbs. A hand brushes against your knee. You leap back. It's attached to a body wedged under a sunken log, mouth open, eyes still reflecting the sky. You look away. You notice how quiet it is. No birds, no frogs, just a slurp of mud and the soft creak settling. Then, voices. Far off, male, urgent. You duck behind a stone. Watch. A group of men in mismatched armor walk past. Bark shields, bronze swords. One carries a standard, a long stick with feathers and bones tied at intervals. At the top, a carved spiral. The same spiral etched on that arrowhead. You recognize it. You shouldn't, but you do. You've seen it somewhere else, in a dream maybe, or on the face of a masked figure standing over a pile of screaming men. The spiral means something. You don't know what, but it knows you. The group disappears into the fog. You wait, still, breath held. Then you hear a different sound. A woman, screaming, not words, just raw, feral terror. Then, silence. You don't investigate. You go the other way. As you walk, you see more signs of disaster. A half-burnt cart, its wheels shattered. A horse with arrows in both flanks, its mouth twisted like it was mid-scream when it died. A child's footprint, small, barefoot, headed into the marsh. You follow it for a while. It stops at a puddle. No other prints leave. The fog thickens. You pass a helmet filled with water and something else. Teeth. Not scattered, arranged in a circle. You keep walking. Eventually, you reach what used to be a bridge. Just broken logs now, twisted like ribs. One end is charred. There are bones embedded in the mud around it. Not just one body, dozens. This is where the first wave died, and probably the second, and the third. You sit, stare into the water. It reflects the sky, gray and endless. But something in the reflection moves. Not you, not a bird. A shape. Tall, thin, masked. You spin. Nothing. You're alone again. But not really. Because something is watching. Not from the trees. Not from the river. From below. You feel it humming. The spiral. The blood. The memory. And you realize you're not here to survive this. You're here to remember it. The ground beneath your feet squishes like something alive. Not mud, not quite. It's too warm, too thick. You don't want to think about what's mixing with the water here. Blood, bile, fat rendered down by time and rain. Ahead of you, a trail. Not a road, not even a path. Just a churned line where dozens, no, hundreds of feet have marched through the earth. You step onto it, and suddenly you're no longer alone. You're marching with them. Dozens of men, maybe more. Some walk with heads high, weapons slung over their backs. Others limp, leaning on cracked staves or one another. Armor rattles, leather creaks. A sour heat clings to the group, heavy with sweat, rust, and fear. No one looks at you. And no one asks who you are. Because in this place, identity is temporary. Death is permanent. You keep walking. The man beside you has a chunk missing from his ear and the crude tattoo on his neck, 2 spirals overlapping. You've seen that mark before. It was carved into the altar, branded into a corpse's chest. And now it's walking beside you. You nod to him. He doesn't nod back. That's fair. The group moves with mechanical rhythm. No drum, no chants, just a scrape and squelch of dozens of people pretending not to be afraid. Then someone up front hisses, "Bridge ahead." You all stop. A low wooden structure spans a narrow cut in the river, makeshift, sagging under its own weight. You see bent poles, knotted ropes, logs strapped together with rawhide and desperation. And on the far bank, movement. More warriors, but not yours. You grip your spear. The man with the neck tattoo tightens his jaw. Another chews something bitter and spits into the mud. You remember now, this isn't a supply march. It's an approach. A fight is coming. One of the elders near the front raises his hand. Everyone crouches. You follow. The forest closes around you, thick with the musk of wet bark and old breath. The man in front of you mutters, "They have horses." You freeze, because that changes everything. Horses mean speed, trample, strategy. Most of your group is on foot, barefoot even. You haven't seen horses yet, but the prints are there, fresh, deep, split. And then you hear it. Not hooves, not yet. Something else. A whistle, sharp, rising. The sky goes dark for half a second. Then arrows rain down. Not a volley, an avalanche. You don't think. You drop. Mud smacks your face. The man beside you grunts. Something wet hits your shoulder. You glance sideways. His leg is gone. Just gone. A jagged stump where the knee used to be. He stares at it like it's a prank, then falls, screaming. Everything becomes noise. You crawl through the legs of men trying to stand. Some fall, others shove forward toward the bridge. And then comes the countercharge. They cross the bridge, fast, too fast. Chariots, real ones. You see the blur of polished bronze, the flicker of painted shields, a banner with the spiral mark streaked red like a bleeding eye. A man swings a mace from the back of a cart, knocking 3 warriors down like weeds. You throw your spear. It hits something, maybe someone. You don't care. You're running. Into the fray or out of it? Hard to say. Your foot catches on a fallen body. You fall. The world tilts. You land face first beside a man with a bronze dagger lodged in his throat. His eyes are still moving. You crawl, over bodies, under spears, toward the water, and fall in. The river sucks at you like it wants to help, or maybe just keep you. You drift downstream, long enough for the noise to fade. When you drag yourself onto the bank, the sky has turned the color of rust. You're alone again. Sort of, not really. The shore is littered with broken things. Limbs, carts, discarded sandals, twisted helmets. One floats beside you. Inside it, a skull, grinning like it just heard a bad joke. You look down at your hands. They're shaking. One's bleeding. You still don't know what side you are on, or whether there are sides. You limp forward, find a tree, and collapse beneath it. Somewhere above, you hear a distant horn, long, low. It's not a call to arms. It's a signal. They're regrouping. The priest, if that's what he is, isn't finished. This wasn't a battle. This was a test. And you passed. You're still breathing, which means you're invited to the next round. You lie back against the roots, eyes open. The boy finds you there later. You don't know who he is, but he kneels beside you, offers you water. You ask him why. He says, "Because you're one of us now." And you don't argue. Not because you agree, but because you're too tired to decide who us even is. You wake to fire. Not the roaring kind, not war fire, just embers, low and orange. Someone built a ring of stones around the weak flame and left it to live or die on its own terms. The boy is asleep nearby, curled like a comma, his sling still wrapped around his hand. You study him. He's too young for this place, too thin, but his sleep is heavy, the kind of sleep only people who've seen too much can manage. You sit up. Every bone creaks like it's trying to warn you. And then you hear it again. The river. Still whispering, still sucking bones beneath the surface. You walk toward it, slowly, carefully. And that's when you see the line. It stretches along the bank, dozens of bodies set out in a row, not buried, not burned, just displayed, like warnings or trophies. Each has a weapon placed across their chest. Each is missing something: a hand, a foot, an eye. One has been carefully skinned from the neck down, the muscle still pink beneath the morning mist. You try to turn away. Then you see it. The spiral. Carved into the chest cavity of the third corpse from the end, not with a blade, burned in. You remember that symbol. From the spear, the shield, the dream. Now it's carved into flesh. You want to scream, but the fog absorbs the sound before it leaves your mouth. You return to camp. The boy is gone. Not far, he's at the edge of the trees, watching a group of figures move across the clearing. You crouch beside him. You whisper, "Who are they?" He says, "Scavengers from the north." You study them. Thin men, haggard, faces smeared with white ash. They're stripping bodies, not for food, though you wouldn't bet against it, but for gear, rings, arrows, shoes. They move with practiced rhythm. One stops, lifts a skull, shakes it, then tosses it over his shoulder. You blink. You're watching professionals. This war has generated an economy. You stand, walk toward them. You don't know why. Maybe to talk, maybe to kill. But you stop when you see the pile. They've gathered teeth, hundreds, piled like seeds, and laid out beside it, tongues, dried, salted, stacked. You don't say anything, just back away. One of them looks at you, grins. He has no teeth. "Trade?" he says. You run. You and the boy don't stop until the forest closes behind you again. You collapse near a shallow pool, gasping. The boy says nothing, just stares at the water. You splash your face, trying to forget what you saw. But it's not the pile of teeth that stays with you. It's the way they were arranged, in a spiral. Again. That's not scavenger behavior, that's ritual. And rituals mean belief, which means someone taught them. You try to sleep, can't. Instead, you rise and wander. You pass an old tree, split down the middle by lightning. There's something wedged inside it. You pull it free. It's a jawbone, human, still strung on a leather cord. It was worn like a necklace. You drop it. And then, laughter. Not joyful, not deranged, ceremonial. You follow the sound, just for a few steps, and find a woman, alone, dancing in a clearing. Her eyes are rolled back, her hands are streaked with black paint, her mouth moves but makes no sound. She spins, collapses, then lies still. You step closer. She's dead, or pretending. You don't check. You back away. When you return to the boy, he looks at you like he already knows what you saw. "You went to the tree," he says. You nod. "I dream about that tree," he tells you, "every night." You don't ask what happens in the dream, because you already know. You lie down beside him. Try to sleep. Try to forget. But that night, you dream of the spiral again. Only now, it's made of teeth, and it's moving, spinning inward, always inward, towards something you don't want to see. The boy wakes you with a whisper. "They're coming." You blink against the light, but the sun hasn't risen. The glow is something else, orange, pulsing, too low on the horizon to be natural. You crawl up a slope of mossy stone, and when you reach the top, your stomach drops. Below you, the valley is on fire. Not all of it, just enough. 3 clusters of tents burn along the riverbank. Smoke snakes upward in columns, like trees made of ash. Figures dart between the flames, some screaming, some chasing. You can't tell who's who. The boy crouches beside you. It's him. You don't ask who, you already know. The priest. You've never seen him up close, just flashes, rumors. That one time on the ridge when a figure in a mask stared directly into your breath. But now you see the pattern. Wherever the spiral appears, fire follows. You descend the hill, staying low, moving through bramble and root, hands scraping against bark and grit. Your heart pounds, not from fear, from recognition. This isn't a war. It's a memory being edited. Every time they burn a camp, a story disappears. You reach the edge of the 3rd camp just as it collapses. Tents caved in, shields scattered, horses screaming, 2 of them running blind into the river, their tails burning. You cover your mouth. The smoke stings like betrayal. A man runs past you, not from the attackers, from his own fire. He's covered in pitch. Whether by accident or punishment, you don't know. He sees you, opens his mouth. Then an arrow sprouts from it. He falls. You don't move. You don't breathe. Because standing at the center of the flames is a figure. Tall, still, unmasked. He holds a sword the length of a man's arm. The blade doesn't shine. It absorbs. And you feel it. Not in your eyes, in your teeth. Like it's humming. Like it's remembering you. The priest doesn't shout. He doesn't signal. He simply raises one arm. And the fires die. Not all at once, just like candles being pinched. You blink, and he's gone. Just smoke, just the sound of the river. You stagger back, stumble over a tent pole, and land hard. You lie there, chest heaving, staring at the sky. The boy finds you again. He doesn't speak. He just kneels beside you and draws something in the ash. A spiral. You saw him, didn't you? You nod. He nods back. Then he wipes the spiral away, hard, almost angry. You sit up. Why does he do it? The boy shrugs. Some say he's erasing the tribes. Others say he's making them one. You frown. How? He says, by burning the names. You feel that in your stomach. Because your name, your real name, is already hazy. When was the last time someone spoke it? You try to recall. Can't. You ask the boy his. He says, not important. You don't press, because you know what he means. Names are liabilities now. You both rise, head upstream, away from the burn sites. You find a small rise shaded by black pine and collapse. Hours pass. The boy sleeps. You stare into the woods. At the edges, shadows move. You're not sure if they're men or memories. And then you see it. A single tree wrapped in red cloth. Its bark carved with spirals. Tiny ones, big ones, one inside the other. You don't approach. You know better now. Instead, you sit and whisper every name you can remember. Every name you've heard, even the ones you think you made up. Because if he's burning memory, someone has to keep it lit. Even if it's just in your mouth. Even for one more night.
There's a sound in the night that doesn't belong. Not an animal, not wind, it's a rhythmic tapping, like someone walking barefoot across wet stone. You wake the boy with a nudge. He sits up instantly, always ready now. The two of you listen. Tap, tap, pause, tap. You grip your dull blade. The boy readies a rock. Neither of you speaks. Then, just as quickly, it stops. Silence again. But that kind of silence, it's worse than sound. You stay low until morning. When you finally rise, you walk and walk. The sun never quite pierces the fog. The trees feel closer together than they did yesterday, like they've been whispering behind your back. You pass an old watch point, just a wooden platform between trees. Beneath it, a fresh body. Female, young, eyes wide, throat cleanly cut. But her hands, they're clasped, like prayer. The boy whispers, "She was a speaker." You ask what that means. He shrugs, "The kind who remembers names." You cover her with leaves. It's not enough, but it's more than most get. Later, you reach a fork in the trail. One side is bright, open, breezy. The other is dark, heavy. The trees arch overhead like ribs. You already know which path leads where. So, you take the hard one. You walk in silence for a long time. Then, the boy speaks. "They say he was born here." You glance sideways. "The priest?" He nods. "Says he crawled out of the river, already grown. No tribe, no name, just a spiral burned into his chest." You try to laugh. It comes out wrong. You say, "That's not real." The boy looks at you. "No," he says, "but it's true." You walk slower after that. The path leads to a clearing, and what you see there makes your stomach twist. A tree, a tall one, and hanging from its branches, ropes. Dozens of them. Not all full, just enough. Each body sways slightly. Some barefoot, some armored, one with a carved flute still tied to his belt. Someone tried to send a message, or maybe stop one. You approach slowly. That's when you see it. On the ground below the tree, carved into the soil with a stick or a blade, words. Not in your language, but you understand. "We remembered. It didn't save us." You step back. The boy won't look. He just says, "They tried to hold a line." You ask what line. He points to the north. That one. And now you hear it. Faint, but real. Drums. Low. Slow. One beat. Then silence. One beat. Then silence. A signal. You move faster now. North, always north. You pass a half-burned wagon, its axle snapped. Inside, broken tools, cracked pots, a spool of copper wire. And teeth. Why are there always teeth? This time, they're wrapped in linen, labeled, organized. You don't take them. You don't want to know. You reach a ridge, and what you see below stops you cold. An army, but not the kind you know. This one wears matching clothes, shields painted in identical spirals, every man marked with ash across the face. And at the front, him, the priest, still unmasked, still carrying that sword, still staring like he knows you're watching. You crouch, try to blend with the stone, but his gaze doesn't move. It's fixed, straight ahead, straight at you. You whisper, "He can't see us?" The boy doesn't answer, because he knows you're wrong. You crawl away, slowly, quietly. As you descend the other side of the ridge, you find another camp. Not burned, not destroyed, just empty. Baskets tipped, bread half eaten, one pot still steaming. Whoever was here left fast. You sit, try to eat something. You can't. Your hands shake. Not from fear, from knowing. Knowing that this valley isn't a battlefield. It's a throat. And someone, maybe the priest, is clearing it, making room for something new. The boy sits beside you. He says nothing, because there's nothing left to say.
You don't walk anymore. You drift. Through trees that used to feel like protection, now they feel like audience. Every sound in the woods has meaning.
Every snap of a twig could be someone following, or watching, or remembering you. You start counting your steps. You lose track around 400. The boy doesn't speak, neither do you. You pass a pile of branches stacked unnaturally, like a crude wall. Inside, you find something worse than a body. It's a warning. A face. Skinned, stretched and nailed to bark. Eyes gone, spiral carved into the forehead. Not fast, not clean. Message received. You don't say a word, just keep walking. By dusk, you reach water again. Not the main river, a side path. Narrow, deep. The boy points across. We need to go that way. You nod. There's no bridge, so you wade. Halfway through, the bottom disappears. You drop, sink, flail. The boy grabs your arm, drags you back. You gasp, spit, choke. He says nothing. You know what he's thinking. That river's claimed enough already. You crawl to shore, soaked, shivering, furious. You build a fire, try to warm up. You sit across from the boy. Your hands shake, so you bite the inside of your cheek to stop it. It works, for now. Later, while the flames crackle low, you talk. You say, I think he's not a man. The boy nods. I think he's a story. You both pause. That sounds right. You ask, so who made him? The boy shrugs. Maybe we did. You don't like that answer, but it sticks. You wake the next morning to hoof prints, fresh, deep, deep. There are at least 12 sets, maybe more. The tracks aren't random, they form a spiral. Big. In the clearing. You and the boy stare at it. It wasn't made by mistake. Someone designed it. You circle the pattern. In the center, a dead dog. Strangled. Its body tied into a knot. You've stopped trying to make sense of it. Some things aren't messages, they're rituals. You press on. As you walk, you see movement. Not people. Totems. Dozens of them. Built from bones and ash and feathers. Some are painted, others just stare. One has hands tied to the top like wings. Another has a face made of clay and teeth. They all face the same direction, north. You do too. You come across a half-sunken chariot in the mud. Its wheels are split, bronze fittings rusted, but it was beautiful once. You run your hand across its side. The carvings tell a story. Men, horses, fire, spirals, always spirals. You're not sure if they represent the priest or the valley, or both. You leave it behind. That night, you find a cave, small, hidden, protected. Inside, warmth, dryness, relief. You sleep, and you dream. This time, you're not watching. You're him, the priest. You're standing on a hill, your sword humming in your hand. You raise it high, and a crowd below you kneels. Their faces are blank, but their mouths chant your name. Not your name now, a name you don't recognize. You wake in a sweat. The boy is already up, sitting at the mouth of the cave. He says, "You dreamed it again." You nod. He says, "We're close now." You believe him. Later that day, you stumble upon a new camp. Not burned, not dead, alive. People, dozens of them. Children, women, elders. They're making tools, drying meat, talking softly. They see you, and instead of raising weapons, they smile. One man walks up, offers bread. You hesitate, then you take it.
The boy eats like he hasn't in weeks. You sit by the fire. They ask nothing. They just accept. And for a few hours, you feel human again. But then you see it. Etched into the edge of a spear, a spiral. You ask where they got it. The man shrugs. Passed down. You press. From who? He says, we don't ask about before. That night, you lie awake because you realize something awful. This isn't a survivor camp. It's a seed, a new tribe, and they already carry the spiral. They don't know what it means, but it's inside them. You turn to the boy. He's already watching you. He says, it never stops, does it? You shake your head, because now you understand. The war didn't kill 90% of the men in this valley. It became them, and it's still growing.
The camp feels too calm. That's the first clue. Children play near the fire, tossing a stone back and forth. A woman hums while grinding seeds. A man sharpens a spear, but not like someone preparing for war, like someone with time to kill. You sit near the edge, chewing a strip of smoked meat, and feel something inside you twitch. Not fear, instinct. Because peace here feels like foam before a wave. You look around. They've painted the trees, subtle symbols in ochre and charcoal, rings, lines, stars. But near the center of camp, carved into the largest oak, a spiral, again. But this one's different. It's backwards, widening outward instead of curling in. The boy sees it too. He frowns. That's wrong. You ask why. He says, it's not finished. You rise, walk the camp's perimeter. People smile at you, but their eyes are tired, glazed, as if their thoughts aren't in the present anymore. You pass a cooking pit, smoke rises. Inside, a bone is bubbling. Human. You keep walking. By a ring of stones, two men are talking in low voices. You don't understand the words, but you catch one name. His name. The priest. They're not afraid. They're curious. You move deeper into the camp, toward the heart. A small shrine made of wood and antlers sits beneath a canopy. Offerings rest around it. Bread, feathers, a lock of hair. And at its center, a mask. White, flat, wooden, streaked with red like tears. You've seen it before. On him. You touch it. It's warm. You flinch, step back, and hear a voice behind you. Do you like it? You spin. An old woman stands there. She's draped in wool, her arms tattooed with symbols, some familiar, some alien. You ask, who are you? She smiles. I'm the one who remembers. You ask what? She says, everything. You ask about the mask. She looks at it with something between awe and pity. He left it here once, she says, before he became what he is now. You blink. You knew him? She nods. When he still had a name, before he chose the spiral. You want to ask more, but she turns and walks away. You follow. She leads you to a tent made of stitched hides, darker than the rest. Inside, the air is heavy, thick with herbs, and something else. Memory. She gestures to the floor. You sit. She kneels across from you. Then, quietly, he wasn't the first. You blink. What? She leans closer. The spiral's older than him. He just became it, wore it long enough that no one saw the man underneath anymore. You whisper, so he's not a god? She smiles.
No gods here, just stories that grew teeth. Outside, drums begin. Not war drums, ritual. The boy bursts into the tent. They're gathering. You rise, walk out. Half the camp now stands in a circle. In the center, a man wears the mask. He's not the priest. He's younger, slighter. But when he raises his hand, they kneel. All of them, even the children. You watch in horror as he mimics the gestures, the spiral dance, the slow turning of the hand. He's learning. No, he's becoming. You turn to the old woman. Why let him do this? She says, because it's what we remember. We don't know how to forget. And now you understand. The priest never dies. He just moves from one face to the next, one story to another. He's not a man, he's a role. And now, this boy is stepping into it. You feel bile in your throat. You say, this isn't survival, this is infection. The old woman's eyes narrow. Then run, she says, before it spreads to you, too. But you already know it's too late. You've carried the spiral in your mind for days. And some nights, when you dream from his eyes. You grip your blade, step away from the crowd. You don't know where you're going, but it's not here. You motion for the boy. He follows. No words. Just the two of you disappearing into the trees before the mask chooses a new face. The forest closes around you like a door being shut. Every branch you push aside feels like it's reaching back for you. The trees here are different, older, wider, bark split like tired skin. The boy walks ahead, faster than usual, like he wants distance between himself and what he just saw. You let him. You're still thinking about the man with the mask, not the priest, the next one. You wonder how many came before, and how many are still walking. You reach a wide stream, slow-moving, shallow enough to cross barefoot, but too murky to trust. The boy stops at the edge, points, tracks. He's right, hoof prints, deep, fresh, and not just one set, 6, maybe more. You scan the forest. No sound, no birds. You kneel, touch the mud, still warm. You don't cross, not yet. Instead, you follow the bank until you find a spot where the prints stop, dead in the middle of a clearing. And there, hanging from a low branch, a mask. Not the same, but close, smaller, child-sized, still white, still streaked with red. The boy picks up a stone. He doesn't throw it. He just grips it like he's preparing for something awful. You step closer. The mask is hanging by hair, human, braided, still damp. You've seen enough. You press onward. Later, you find a ridge that overlooks the valley floor. From here, you can see for miles. And what you see makes your breath freeze. The spiral. Not carved, not drawn, formed. With bodies, laid out on the ground like letters in a forgotten alphabet. A message, or a warning. The boy steps beside you. He says nothing. Neither do you. Because what can you say? That the war has learned how to speak? That the spiral now arranges the dead like punctuation? You don't go down there. You don't need to. You already understand. The priest doesn't kill for victory. He kills for meaning. You walk along the ridgeline, staying low. Eventually, you reach a small cave, shallow,
Barely enough room to lie down, but it's hidden, safe. The boy builds a tiny fire. You watch the smoke drift upward and disappear through a crack in the rock. He asks, "What if there's no end?" You don't answer. Not yet. He presses, "What if this just keeps happening? New masks, new names, but always the same story." You say, "Then we tell it right." That quiets him, because he knows what that means. You sleep lightly that night, dream of wheels, of smoke, of rivers filled not with water, but with ash. You wake before dawn. The fire is out. The boy is gone. You rise fast, heart pounding. But he returns minutes later, holding something. A map. Made of bark. Crude. But you recognize the markings. Burial grounds. He says, "I took it from the old woman before we left." You unfold it. Trace the symbols. You count 9 mounds. 9 forgotten hills, all circling one unmarked spot. You know where you're going. The boy does too. You eat, you drink, and you start walking again. The journey is long, but different. Every footstep now feels like punctuation, a sentence forming. You see reminders along the way, an altar built from ribs, a man hanging upside down, his body painted with ink that drips into the soil. A flock of birds circling a spot you never visit. It all fits now. The pattern, the spiral, not a symbol, a strategy. It tightens, always inward, and now you're near the center. The land begins to change, flatter, quieter. The trees thin. The soil smells like metal. You step into a clearing and feel it before you see it. A pulse, like breath, like something underground is exhaling once every few seconds. The boy stops beside you. He whispers, "This is where it ends." You believe him, because the birds don't fly here, because the air doesn't move, because the spiral isn't just an idea anymore, it's a place, and you just arrived. The center of the valley doesn't look like a battlefield, not anymore. It looks like a memory, one the land hasn't quite finished forgetting. You and the boy stand at the edge of it, a wide, flat basin ringed by hills like a mouth caught mid-scream. No trees grow here. No grass, just soil, dark, heavy, and wet even though it hasn't rained. You walk slowly. Every step sounds wrong. Not just squelch, but echo. The ground isn't solid. You kneel, press your hand to it. Soft, too soft. You dig, just a little. Your fingers break the surface and strike something smooth. Bone. Another scrape, metal. A blade, bronze, dulled by time and blood. The boy digs too. Within minutes, you've uncovered part of a skull. Not buried intentionally, just lost in the collapse. You look around, then realize this whole place, this flat stretch of nothing, is a grave. Thousands, all piled, all forgotten. No markers, no monuments, just quiet. You rise, wipe your hands on your tunic. Then you hear it. Drums, faint, from the south. Not fast, measured, like a ritual. The boy doesn't react, just whispers, "He's coming." You both move, not fast. You know better now. The priest doesn't chase, he waits. You circle the basin, searching, and then, on the northern side, you find it. A scar in the ground, long, wide. The earth tore open like a wound. Inside, rows of skeletons, perfect, lined up like soldiers, even in death. and at the end of the trench, a crude throne made of cart parts and rib bones. And sitting on it, no one, not yet. But you know who it's meant for. The boy stares at it. This is where it began. You ask how he knows. He shrugs. I've seen it before. You ask when. He says, in my dreams. You step down into the trench. The bones crunch beneath your feet. You kneel. Place your hand on a skull. Cold, but not lifeless. You whisper a name. Any name. Doesn't matter. What matters is that someone hears it. Above you, the sky darkens. Clouds roll in, fast and angry. You and the boy find shelter in the throne's shadow, and you wait. Not long. They arrive just as the first drop of rain hits your cheek. Dozens of them, spirals painted on faces, chests, shields. They move in silence, and behind them, tall and straight, the priest. No mask, no armor, just him and the sword, still humming, still glowing faintly. He walks to the center of the basin, stops, looks around, then lifts the blade. Everyone kneels, except you. You step forward. The boy grabs your hand. Don't, he says. You say, if I don't now, I never will. You step into the basin, walk toward him. The soldiers part like smoke. The priest watches, no expression, just waiting. You stop 3 paces from him. The rain thickens. You say nothing, because this moment was never meant to be spoken. He lifts the sword and offers it, handle first. Your heart stops, because you realize this isn't a battle. It's a passing. The spiral doesn't kill, it chooses, and it's chosen you. You don't take the blade. You raise your voice instead, and you speak, not to him, to the crowd. You speak the names, all the names, of the dead, of the forgotten, of the burns and broken. You name them all, out loud, one after the other. The priest lowers the blade. He steps back. Rain soaks you, but you keep going. And slowly, the kneeling figures lift their heads, one by one. They listen, and for the first time, no one moves, no one kills, no one chants, just silence, real silence, like the valley itself is listening. You finish the names. The last one catches in your throat. It's yours. You say it out loud, and suddenly, the priest is gone. No smoke, no flash, just gone. The others scatter quietly into the trees, like fog being blown away. Only the boy remains. He takes your hand and says, "You ended it." You shake your head. "No," you say, "I just remembered."
It takes hours before your hands stop shaking. You sit in the rain, still in the basin, surrounded by the bones of men who died long before your voice reached them. The boy crouches nearby, arms wrapped around his knees, quiet as ever. No one comes back. The camp, the masked men, the priest, all gone. Not fled, not defeated, just lifted, like fog at dawn. You rise, your knees stiff, your skin cold, but something in your chest has changed. Not peace, not pride, a kind of stillness. The kind you feel after a storm breaks and doesn't return. You climb the ridge and look out over the valley. It's no longer just a graveyard. It's a story. One that wanted to be told. And you told it. The boy joins you. You hand him the bark map he gave you days ago. You keep it, you say. He looks at it like it's dangerous. What for? In case it starts again. He doesn't answer, just tucks it into his cloak.
You both descend the other side of the ridge, and what you find waiting for you is unexpected. Life, a new camp. Tense, yes, but also laughter. Not loud, not careless, but real. A girl chases a dog through the wet grass. An old man carves something into wood, humming to himself. You and the boy walk in slowly. No one rushes you. No one points weapons. Someone offers you bread. Someone else water. You sit near a fire and feel its warmth climb into your bones. A woman stirs a pot of stew. It smells like meat and roots and hope. She asks no questions. She just hands you a bowl. Later, you hear someone speaking. An elder maybe, telling a story. You listen. It's not about the priest. It's not about the spiral. It's about a river that swallowed a sword and gave birth to a thunderstorm. It's nonsense, but it's healing nonsense. The kind that stitches cracked hearts. The boy sits across from you, watching the flames. You ask him, "What will you do now?" He says, "Stay a while. Maybe remember things the right way." You nod. That sounds right. You leave the camp at dawn, alone this time. The boy waves. You wave back. No words. He knows you're not walking away. You're walking forward. The path north is quiet. The wind carries fewer stories now, just your thoughts. You pass a tree with carvings in it. Spirals, yes, but faded, weathered. You scrape your fingers across them. Then dig your knife into the bark and carve something else. A straight line, no curve, just forward. You press on. Later, you reach a cliffside. The view opens wide. Tollense Valley sprawls beneath you, still, green, alive. You sit at the edge and eat the last of the bread. You don't rush. The sky changes as you chew. Clouds shift, birds pass. And you think, for the first time in days, maybe even weeks, it's over. Not forever, but for now. You sleep beneath the stars. No dreams, just darkness. When you wake, there's dew on your lips and moss under your cheek. And for once, no spirals. You rise, shoulder your pack, and walk toward whatever comes next. You thought it was over. Not in the happily ever after kind of way, but in the exhausted, bone deep, nothing left to burn kind of way. You were wrong. It starts with a smell. Not fire, not rot. Salt. You're near the coast now, days north of the valley. The land has changed. The wind feels lighter. The trees breathe easier. But the smell tells you something else is coming. You crest a dune and see them. Boats. Not fishing canoes, not trading rafts. Ships. 30 of them. Maybe more. Flat-bottomed, wide, built for carrying men. You lie flat in the grass and watch. Figures move across the decks. They unload crates, roll out hides, unpack blades and shields and food. Organized, calm, like they've done this before. You listen. Different languages, not yours. But some words echo from deep in your memory, from dead mouths you passed weeks ago. They're not strangers. They're late. Reinforcements. You crawl back from the dune and sit under a twisted tree, heart pounding. The spiral didn't end. It just changed direction. You wait for night. Then you move. Creep through the brush toward the edge of their encampment. One of the crates lies open. You peek inside. Scrolls. Yes, real scrolls. Ink still wet. Maps, names, drawings. And on the top sheet, a familiar shape. The spiral. But this one is reversed. It doesn't tighten, it expands.
The spiral is spreading, not a religion, a blueprint. You take one scroll, quietly, and disappear into the dark. By dawn, you walked 10 miles inland. You stop near a brook and unroll the scroll. It's a list, not in your tongue, but you understand enough. Each name is followed by numbers, measurements, tribes. It's a census of men, of soldiers, of survivors. You feel sick. They're not just building an army, they're cataloging the world. The priest wasn't the beginning. He was the signal. Now the machine has arrived. You burn the scroll, but not fast enough. Before it curls to ash, you see one last thing. Your name. You don't know how they have it, but they do. And beside it, a mark, a spiral, and beneath that, active, unknown. They're tracking you. You move, faster now. Not north, not south, west, toward the coast. Not to fight, to hide. You reach a fishing village, small, quiet, suspicious. They let you trade for a seat on a boat. You sit near the bow, staring into the horizon. The sea looks calm, but everything calm now feels like camouflage. The boy's not with you. You left him behind, on purpose. He doesn't need this. You do. The boat cuts across the water. The coast disappears. For a while, you imagine maybe it really is over, that you escaped. Then you reach the island. They greet you, give you food, offer you rest. You take it. At night, they gather around the fire and ask for stories. You start small, the river, the camps, the priest. But before you can finish, one of them holds up a hand. "We've heard that one," they say. Then they show you something, a stone, flat, smooth, etched with a shape. You already know what it is, the spiral. The story got here before you. You close your eyes and laugh, softly, because the spiral isn't chasing you. You've been inside it the whole time. You sit by the fire with a half-eaten bowl of stew in your lap, watching the flames spit and flicker like they're trying to confess something. Around you, the islanders talk in low tones, not afraid, just careful, like the words might grow legs if they say too many too fast. One of them, an old man with eyes like fogged glass, sits beside you. "You're not the first," he says. You nod. Of course not. The spiral always gets there first. The man pokes the fire with a stick and stares at the embers. "When I was a boy, we found a canoe washed ashore. Inside, bones, a spear, and a mask made of shell." He doesn't need to describe the shape. You already know. You ask what they did with it. He says, "We buried it." You ask where? He says, "Far from here. High ground, under stones too heavy to lift." You both sit in silence. Then you ask, "Did it stay buried?" The old man doesn't answer. You finish your stew and wander to the edge of the village. The sea whispers nearby, dark and endless. You stare at the waves, and for a moment, just a flicker, you see something out there. A boat, drifting. No sails, no oars, just a mast. And on it, hanging limp, a spiral banner. You blink. It's gone. Maybe it was never there, or maybe it always is. You return to the village and sleep in a hut that smells like smoke and lavender. Your dreams come back, but they're different now. You're not the priest. You're with him, side by side, walking across ash-covered ground. He turns to you, speaks without moving his mouth. "You told it wrong," he says. Then he smiles, and you wake up with blood in your mouth. Not yours. You don't scream, just rinse your mouth in the basin. Later, a child gives you a stone to keep. Etched into it, not a spiral, but a straight line. You hold it like a secret, because maybe, just maybe, someone else tried to break the pattern too. And maybe it didn't work. You leave the village after 2 days. No one stops you. They treat you like the weather, passing through, expected, uncontrollable. You walk the island coast thinking about the bones in the canoe. You find them eventually. Not all of them, but enough. A skull, a carved piece of driftwood, and a mask made of shell, cracked down the middle. You leave it where it is, but you bury the skull with your hands. No words, just dirt, and the straight line stone. When you finish, you feel lighter, not clean, but clear. You sleep that night under the stars. No fire, just the hum of the sea and your heartbeat. The spiral still spins, but slower now, like it's tired. You whisper to the wind, "I remember." And for the first time, the wind whispers back, "So do we."
You travel inland. Why? You're not sure. Maybe because the coast feels too quiet, or maybe because something inside you still believes there's more to understand. And sure enough, there is. After 3 days walking across scrubland and sun-bleached rock, you find it. Not by accident, not by direction. It feels like the ground guided you. You crest a ridge and see a circle of stones below. Tall, weathered, impossible. It isn't the size that matters, it's the placement. Each stone points toward a cardinal direction: north, south, east, west. And at the center, a cairn, fresh. You descend carefully, 1 foot slipping on gravel. The closer you get, the quieter the air becomes. Not empty, expectant. The boy isn't with you, but you hear him anyway, like a memory, or a future you haven't lived yet. You kneel at the cairn and brush away moss. There's a symbol carved into the top stone. Not the spiral, a line, but bent, like it tried to be straight, then failed. It turns at the end, a hook, a question mark. You sit beside the stones and take out a piece of bark. You sketch what you've seen, the spirals, the line, the bend. You whisper aloud, what if it was never meant to end? A gust of wind scatters your thoughts, and then you hear it. Hoofbeats, distant, slow, steady. You stand, but you don't run, because part of you has been waiting. You look across the plain and see them, just 5 riders, spaced far apart, painted faces, not masked. They carry no banners, but their shields bear the spiral and the line, both, together, like a compromise or a warning. They don't approach, they just watch. You lift your hand, they do the same. Then, wordlessly, they turn and ride away. And something inside you shifts. Not fear, not relief, a third thing. You sit again and think about the names. The ones you spoke in the basin. The ones that stayed with you. You realize you never told your story, only theirs. You unfold a fresh piece of bark and begin to write. Not with grand beginnings or perfect language, just moments. A jawbone in the mud, a boy with a rock, a priest who may never have been born. You write until your hand cramps. Then you bury the scroll beneath the cairn, wrapped in cloth, tied with bone. Because someday someone else will walk this way. And when they find it, they'll know. Someone tried. Not to win, not to end it, just to remember. The sun dips behind the stones. The wind stills. You close your eyes and rest your back against history. And for the first time in a long time, you sleep.
Not because you're tired, but because you're done. You wake to voices. Soft, distant. They're not speaking to you. They're speaking about you. You lie still beneath the cairn's shadow, listening. They say he crossed the basin. No one crosses and comes back. He didn't come back. He kept going. You sit up slowly. 3 figures stand near the stone ring. 2 women, 1 man, young, strong-looking, clothes stitched with bone buttons and copper beads. You make no sudden movements. The man nods at you, not in greeting, in recognition. You stand. He gestures at the cairn. Yours? You nod. He says, "We thought so." They offer food. Not much. Dried roots and meat smoked so long it's black inside. You eat in silence. The woman beside him has eyes like flint. She studies you like you're a new species. Finally, she says, "We're walking west. Heard there's another basin." You ask what kind. She shrugs. Does it matter? You ask what they want there. She replies, "The same thing you left behind." She points to the cairn. The scroll buried underneath. Your story. They know. Of course they do. The spiral spreads faster than fire, and stories are the driest wood. You finish eating and stand. You'll find nothing there, you say. The man tilts his head. Then why did you go? You pause. Then, because I didn't want to be part of it anymore. The woman smiles. Too late, she says. They leave you without a farewell, just vanish into the brush like they were never there. You turn your back on the cairn and walk east. Not because it's safer, but because no one's walking that way. You pass streams with old fish traps still in them, rusted, forgotten. You see stone tools wedged between tree roots. An old shield propped against a mossy log, abandoned. You pick it up. On the back, carved in shaky lines, "Don't forget." You carry it for a while, until it feels too heavy. Then you leave it on a stump, pointed north. A signpost. The kind only the right kind of eyes will read. By nightfall, you reach a forest burned years ago. The trees are black skeletons, nothing green. Except one plant, a vine with silver leaves climbing up a charred trunk. Its leaves form a curl, a spiral. You laugh, because of course. You walk into the ashland. The moon rises. You whisper the names again, out loud. Not for anyone else, just to remind yourself that they were real, and that you are too. In the distance, you hear something. Not drums, not hooves, wind, moving through a spiral-shaped canyon. It moans like a ghost trying to spell your name. You keep going. Eventually, you find a hill, low, flat-topped. You climb it. And from the top, you can see it. Another valley, another river, another scar in the ground. You don't go down, not this time. You sit on the hill and light a fire, just big enough to be seen, not as a beacon, as a question. If someone's out there, if they're walking toward the spiral, you want them to see that it can be paused, even for a moment, even if no one's sure how long. The fire burns low now, just enough to warm your feet, not enough to light the sky. You sit with your knees pulled in, wrapped in a pelt that still smells like old battles. And you're tired. Not in the way that sleep fixes, in the way stone feels when rain keeps falling on it year after year. The spiral never really ends. You see that now. Because even when the flames die down, even when the masks fall off and the last names are whispered into the wind, someone else finds the pattern, draws it in the dirt, etches it in bark, builds it with bones. You spent your whole journey trying to understand it, to survive it, but now you think you were supposed to carry it, not as a curse, as a reminder that forgetting is the real danger, and remembering, even when it hurts, is the only way forward. Below the hill, the valley sleeps. The moon paints it silver. Somewhere, water flows, quiet, not choking on bodies, not bloated with history, just moving. You smile, not because anything is fixed, but because now you know the shape of the story. It's not a circle, not quite. It loops, but it spirals, which means it never returns to the same place twice. It remembers. You whisper aloud, "If anyone finds this, know I tried." You close your eyes and picture all the things you left behind. The boy sitting beside a fire with new names to memorize. The valley slowly growing green again around old bones. The cairn buried deep beneath a sky no longer screaming. And somewhere far away, a hand picking up a scroll, reading your words, maybe laughing, maybe crying, maybe, just maybe, understanding. You lie back in the grass. The stars drift overhead. You breathe slowly, and the world breathes with you. You don't need to run anymore. You've walked the spiral to its edge. Now let it keep spinning without you. You did your part. You remembered. And maybe that's enough. The fire flickers low in your mind now. You're not on a battlefield. You're in your bed. The pillow cradles your head like ancient moss. The sheets are soft, and the darkness around you is no longer the kind you need to fear. It's the kind that holds you, like the soil held the bones. You made it. Through the fog, through the war, through the spiral that almost pulled you under. Your breath is slow now, deep, like a river that's finally found its way home. You walked with the dead. You whispered their names. And now, in this quiet hour between waking and sleep, you've earned the stillness. Let your shoulders sink. Let your mind unclench. The priest is gone. The valley is behind you. And the spiral, though it still spins somewhere in the dark, it no longer needs your steps to keep turning. You've passed the story on. You've given it shape. Let it drift into someone else's dream now. Yours can be softer, slower, kinder. You've earned it. Let go of the names. Let go of the maps. Let go of the sword. Just rest. You're safe. And sleep is waiting. Good night. Sleep well.